Alright, well, next up is Season 2 of the Clone Wars. And while Season 1 was a steady climb upward from mediocrity, Season 2 just gets right down to being good. Um, if you want my if you want my short if you want my short review, it's good, sometimes very good, and right from the beginning it tells you, okay, this is going to be better than Season 1. All right, so it starts off with what I thought was a reasonably exhilarating 2 episodes starring Cad Bane, where it's basically a heist movie where he's breaking into the Jedi Temple to steal a holocron for the Emperor, and the following episode they try to get it back, and then the episode after that. I lied. It's 3 episodes that this goes on for. The episode after that, he uses the information that he downloaded, I guess, from the holocron, and uses that to find a bunch of children who will eventually grow up to be Jedis, and basically kidnap them for some reason, because the Emperor tells him to. I don't know why the Emperor does this. I'll just say reasons. But already this series, the season starts off with a reasonable bang. Pardon me. I don't really know what this says for the credibility of the Jedi. If a gunslinger bounty hunter can break into their temple, but it makes Cad Bane seem like a more it makes him seem like a more formidable adversary that he can break into some place as secure as the Jedi Temple, and he doesn't even bat an eye. He doesn't even say, no way, I'm not going to do that. He's like, okay, how much are you paying me? I mean, he's perfectly willing to do it. Really the only thing that concerns him is the price. But this kind of goes back to what I was saying about the Ryloth arc of Season 1, where Ahsoka Tano loses her entire unit. Well, here she does the exact same thing, except it's on a ground battle. I mean she's kind of pushing the droids back, and Kenobi and Skywalker are kind of radioing her, saying like, they are going to flank you from behind. They're going to flank you, and you need to get out of there. You need to pull your forces back. And she's like, what do you know? We're winning. And eventually, they actually have to come and get her on an airship, and she is the only one to make it out. I mean, her entire ground unit, probably about 50 guys, is either killed or captured by the droids. So rightfully they punish her, because she never really got any serious punishment the first time around. But they actually punish her. I would just relieve her from command if she got 2 of her units killed. But if you relieve her from command, then I guess you can't have her in the field anymore, and that wouldn't make the show exciting. So they put her on guard duty in the Jedi Temple, and that's how they eventually catch Cad Bane's cohorts, although not Bane himself, and that's also how they learn that the holocron is stolen, which leads them to chase him into space in the next episode, and basically oh, and Ahsoka does something else really stupid. She's like, oh, get Cad Bane. He's running away, clearly trying to separate her from Skywalker. And Skywalker's saying like no, wait, we'll go up against him together. But she's not having any of it, and she runs after him, and she gets herself captured. And Bane's and Bane says to Skywalker, either you activate the holocron with the Force, because only a Jedi can do this. You activate that holocron, you open it up, you reveal its secrets to me, or I will launch her into space without a helmet. So of course he does it, and that leads into the next episode where he kidnaps a bunch of children. And this actually leads to one of my favorite moments in the series, where Cad Bane eventually does get captured, and the Jedi are like, how do we get him to tell us where he's hidden the children? And eventually they come to the conclusion that we have no choice. The Jedi mind trick won't work on him, but maybe if we all basically concentrate on his mind all at once. So Kenobi, Skywalker, and the Samuel Jackson Jedi, Mace Windu, I believe his name is, they all basically at once tell him like you will take us to the holocron, and basically they're kind of mentally drilling into his brain, and he gets like, oh my god, get out of my head, oh my god. I mean, they very nearly lobotomize him. I mean, they very nearly destroy his brain in the process. So at the risk of literally losing his mind, Cad Bane shows them to where the children is, although he does escape through a secret room on his ship. So he escapes. I'm glad he escapes because, like I said, he's my favorite character on the show. And that actually makes way for the next big campaign arc where they fight to liberate a planet from the Separatists. That takes like 5 episodes because it shows Padme, the Natalie Portman character. It shows her gathering intelligence, and they eventually go to Geonosis, the desert planet with all the bugs from Attack of the Clones. And apparently between Attack of the Clones and this episode, they lost the planet, despite the fact that you clearly saw them win in Attack of the Clones. They lost it mainly due to rebellion by the bug people who sided with the droids. So now they have to go reclaim it. They have to reclaim it and hold it. And this is probably where the animation really started to shine, where I really started to see, okay, this animation is not only good, but some of it is actually really wow, because there is real attention to detail in this series a lot of the time, and I think it really started with this episode, or at least this episode is when I really started to pick it up, because of course they're on this desert planet, so the Jedi get all dusty from the crash, and the big penis-headed Jedi, I forget his name, but he's like, bring in the flamethrowers, and so the clones bring in the flamethrowers and just start like, and basically set these bugs on fire. And a little dark for a kids show, but all right. I mean, just the way they got the fire to look, just the way they got these bugs to move, the way they decorated the caverns, because these bugs crawl around in these kind of underground caves. I mean, just the way they got these caves to look, and the way they lit these caves, and the kind of angles that they got, really made clear to me, okay, this series might actually be something special. With that said, there is a more predictable story arc where Ahsoka Tano teams up with another Padawan, Barriss, and Barriss is basically a strict follower of the rules, and I think they actually get along too well. I don't really need them to have this really annoying animosity towards each other, but it would be nice to see them have to work out some issues. I mean, they basically immediately right away they strike up a friendship, and I just thought that was a little too cheap. But with that said, once the friendship gets going, it is pretty believable, and they do have some interesting conversations that I will talk about in a sec. But then it goes into introduces this new idea that this Geonosis desert planet has this indigenous worm thing that crawls up people's noses and can basically be used for mind control. And this and basically it infects one of the clones, and this clone in turn infects the rest of the crew, and it turns into this really kind of alien-esque, like Ridley Scott alien-esque, or not really psychological thriller episode. It's kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing, where Ahsoka and Barriss are basically trapped on this ship with a bunch of infected clones, and they have to find a way not only to contact the other Jedi on another ship, but also to disinfect the clones. And I did like that episode, although being a kids show, I don't really think they went as dark as they really wanted to. But oh well. And after all of that, it leads to probably my favorite episode of the season, which is another episode with the clones, or specifically a clone, Captain Rex, who is basically Skywalker's second in command. When a Jedi Knight is captured by General Grievous, the big Cookie Monster cyborg guy, the Jedi go and chase him. They rescue him, and then they're basically chasing Grievous around on this jungle planet. Captain Rex gets picked off by a droid sniper, and he's forced to stay at this farm, where he discovers a clone deserter. It's this random clone who lost his entire unit early in the war, and basically left the army. He's a deserter, like I said. The episode is even called The Deserter. And basically him and Rex have all these conversations about why didn't they didn't even give us a choice as to whether or not we wanted to fight. They just bred us in a tube and said you will fight for the Republic, and my choice is to stay on this farm with my newly formed family. And Rex is like, okay, well, my choice is to stay in the army, and Rex is kind of wondering, do I turn this guy in? Is that really a just thing to do? They don't really go as much into it as I would have liked. It's a little too quick. They are a little... I don't know. I just think it goes a little too fast. Not to where it's ruined, because you still really get into the conversations that these two characters have, and it is very interesting to see a clone deserter, because we never really saw a character like that in the movies. But the thing is, it's a 22-minute episode, and half of the episode is spent with Kenobi chasing General Grievous around, and that is by far the least interesting thing going on in the episode. And when you devote half your episode to that, there's only so much time you can devote to developing a relationship or a dynamic between Captain Rex and this deserter. So, but when that episode got stuff right in terms of the dialogue and in terms of the drama, it got it really right. So I really liked that episode, except for the bits with the Cookie Monster, the General Grievous guy. But after that, more of Ahsoka Tano being incompetent. She loses her lightsaber, and she has to find it. It's been stolen. I don't care. Then it actually leads to another episode arc where the Kenobi and Skywalker go to Mandalore, and it turns out Mandalore, which is this it's this pacifist planet ruled by a queen named Satine. All right, and you'll get the joke in a minute, because Satine and Obi-Wan Kenobi used to be an item. They were so close that Obi-Wan later says if she asked, he would have left the Jedi Order. And I don't know if anyone else watching the show got this but me, but in the prequels, Obi-Wan was played by Ewan McGregor, and Ewan McGregor was also in a musical movie called Moulin Rouge, which, in my opinion, is a god-awful movie, but I digress. He was in a musical movie called Moulin Rouge, and his love interest in the movie was played by Nicole Kidman, and her name was Satine. So that's a little in-joke for I guess movie nerds like me. I felt somewhat self-conscious due to the fact that I actually picked up on that joke, because I don't really think this show's standard audience would get it. And the Mandalorian queen even kind of looks like Nicole Kidman, just in the way they design her face. They give her a really thin face and these very stern looking eyes, and this kind of Nicole Kidman-esque mouth. It's Nicole Kidman, except she's British and her voice is a little deeper. So basically, she and her people have come under attack from a Mandalorian terrorist group called Death Watch, and Death Watch is this kind of is an organization that has been explored in Star Wars comic books and novels and games and whatnot. It's basically a group of mercenaries who are wearing Boba Fett armor. But obviously Boba Fett is not wearing the armor yet. He's a teenager in the prequels. So it's this group of terrorists in this blue Boba Fett armor, and their leader is played by Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau voices the ruthless leader of a mercenary terrorist group. It's right away I start picking up on the voice for this guy because it is such a miscast. Jon Favreau's voice is not the least bit intimidating. It's not the least bit menacing, and he tries. He considering he's completely wrong for the role, he does a good job. But the thing is, you really needed someone with a little more authority to their voice. You needed someone with a little more menace to their voice. If I had my pick of who should voice the leader of this Death Watch group, I would have picked Lance Henriksen. Either Lance Henriksen or Ron Perlman, because those guys have have really, really deep, intimidating voices. And I just think they would have been better than Jon Favreau for this guy. And maybe what they were going for is someone you wouldn't ordinarily suspect to be this intimidating mercenary leader. I guess I can't really fault him on that point, but it just feels really distracting when he's giving all these speeches about we will restore the warrior ways of Mandalore. You have destroyed the ways of our ancestors. We will kill the Jedi. Blah blah blah. It just feels really distracting when you're hearing these really powerful speeches coming out of Jon Favreau's mouth. Yeah. Although he does sport a very cool black lightsaber, and it's not simply a lightsaber from the movies that they just gave a black color palette to. It's kind of like this machete looking thing, where it's the hilt is more rectangular, and it makes a different sound than the ordinary lightsaber. And it's not as smooth there. I mean, it seems to be a little cracked at points. The light seems to be a little cracked at points. I mean, I really like this design of this black lightsaber. He doesn't really get to use it very often because he fights with Obi-Wan Kenobi for like a minute, and then he loses and orders his warriors to finish him off. But this whole Mandalore story arc about what I found interesting is that they're taking something from the expanded universe, the comics and the novels and whatnot, and they're kind of letting audiences see them in a new way. I can easily see someone a hardcore Star Wars expanded universe fan getting really worked up about how, like, oh, they ruined Death Watch. They're completely retconning everything that is transpired up to this point. They may be retconning it to some extent, but I don't really think they're ruining it because like I said, this Mandalore stuff is not bad. Very few episodes this season are bad. Like the episode where Padme Amidala, the Natalie Portman chick, is gathering intelligence. That's a bad episode, in my opinion, because it's just. I'll get to more of this in a second, but actually no, I'll get to it now because it's the next episode. It's basically a murder mystery, where Padme Amidala, the bland senator from that fathers Luke and Leia, spearheads efforts to solve a murder mystery in the Senate. That's the next episode. It's a standalone episode. It's not part of any kind of larger arc or anything. It's just the Natalie Portman character going on a this kind of Hardy Boys Dick Tracy-esque mystery. And this is where it really started to dawn on me that they're really one of the boat anchors on this entire show is the Padme Amidala character, because she is so boring. I'm not just saying that because she can't really do any of the Chopsaki lightsaber moves or she's not a soldier. I'm not saying she's boring because of that. I'm saying she's boring because she is bland, she is self-righteous, she is completely incorruptible. She is so uninteresting as a character. I didn't, the first time around, I didn't even bother watching her episodes. And it seems like they must have had some pressure or something by George Lucas or whatever to have these random episodes where she teams up with another senator or another political figure and tries to stop corruption. It seems like they had to have these obligatory periodic episodes where they tried desperately to explain her into the plot. They tried to make her seem like an important figure. And just in terms of her profession, she could be an important figure, but in terms of the overall story and the drama going on with all the other characters, she is completely... I just can't stand her character. I couldn't stand her in the movie. She's like... You know what she is? She's like the Rachel Dawes character from the Dark Knight trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy is fantastic. I love Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. But the probably one of, maybe not the worst thing, but one of the worst things about those movies is the Rachel Dawes character played by Katie Holmes in Batman Begins and Maggie Gyllenhaal in the Dark Knight, because she's just one of the least interesting characters, and it's the same type of character, not necessarily as boring as the Padme Amidala character, but she's that same kind of self-righteous, incorruptible, nagging female character that you just cannot get behind. You cannot get invested in what she is doing. But thankfully it's only one episode. It's one pair of episodes that I actually really kind of laughed at was the episodes with the Zillo Beast, and apparently the creative director of this show, Dave Filoni, is a really big Godzilla fan, because these two episodes are a blatant homage to Godzilla movies. because you have this big giant monster. Granted, it doesn't look anything like Godzilla. It's this very lanky monster that's that I don't even know what kind of animal that they went with for its roar, but this monster has no muscles on it at all. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just so odd looking. But it's this giant building-sized monster. The Jedi cannot hurt it because apparently its scales or its skin is impervious to lightsabers. I've never heard of that happening before in the Star Wars universe, but I guess they needed some excuse for why the Jedi just don't chop it into ribbons. But one episode basically deals with this very elaborate desert battle where you see all these tanks try to take down this giant monster, and it's straight out of an early Godzilla movie, where Godzilla is just marching forward. The tanks are shooting missiles up at him, and he's just not even noticing. He just keeps trudging along and breathing fire on all the tanks. It's kind of like that, minus the fire. And the next episode after that is this thing going on a rampage in the Republic capital. It's smashing up all these buildings, and basically its ultimate goal is to find and kill the Emperor, the Chancellor, at this point in time. Because apparently the Chancellor ordered all these experiments on it, and it's basically trying to find this guy. So to that argument, you can argue that it's kind of like King Kong. The episode is really more of a King Kong homage, because the monster goes on this rampage, and eventually it's taken down, and you're supposed to feel sad. So the first episode is kind of like Godzilla. The second episode is King Kong. But being the fan of monster movies that I am, I was I was really eating these episodes up because you've actually never seen this type of thing before in Star Wars. um, it's ridiculous. I can't imagine this working in a movie, but in this TV show, where we've established that there is a lot more to this universe than what you see in the movies. They just barely pull it off. Some might argue that they don't pull it off, that it's just stupid. But it's a fun kind of stupid. I like these episodes. Granted, that could be the Godzilla fan in me talking, but I don't know, I like them. And the last few episodes, I don't really think quite lived up to the hype, because basically what they were advertising was Boba Fett, a teenage Boba Fett, gathering all these bounty hunters and trying to kill the Samuel L. Jackson Jedi, because the Samuel L. Jackson Jedi, if you remember in Attack of the Clones, decapitated his dad. Out of character, but it's basically 3 episodes of Boba Fett attacking certain characters, like the Samuel L. Jackson Jedi. He's attacking this ship full of clone cadets, and eventually they track him down and bring him in and send him to prison. I don't really think. I think they missed an opportunity here, or maybe not. Okay. They should not have brought Boba Fett into this series. They brought Boba Fett in because they knew that a lot of people would watch the episode strictly because Boba Fett's name was in it. And he's voiced by the kid who played him in Attack of the Clones. And it's not that the kid does a bad job. It's not that Boba Fett has no reason to have a vendetta against the Samuel L. Jackson Jedi, but the thing is, it's very, very difficult to believe that this teenage kid, albeit with a few bounty hunters on his side, it's very difficult to believe that this kid could be a serious menace to these guys like Skywalker and Kenobi and all these powerful figures. It's especially when you've come right off of some really good villains like Cad Bane and oh my god, I really did not care in these episodes. I did not care. Probably the only time Boba Fett posed any serious direct threat to the heroes was when he led Samuel Jackson Jedi and Anakin Skywalker into a trap. He lured them onto an abandoned ship and put his father's helmet in the ship, and when they went to investigate it, he rigged it to explode. And that basically led to Skywalker and the Samuel L. Jackson Jedi becoming trapped in the ship, and they had to be rescued. So that's really the only time where you thought that this kid could be any serious threat. The rest of the time, he's being told what to do by Aura Singh, this pale white, intense-looking bounty hunter chick, who's, I don't even know what her deal is. She's voiced by Jamie King. I think that's how you say her name. And what is her motivation behind helping Boba Fett? I don't get it. Why is she letting this kid tag along? because she's basically taking control of the entire operation. We saw her in season 1, she was helping Cad Bane, but how did she go from that to basically appearing as if she's the underling of this teenager? I don't get it. And really they should have waited, because the creators of this show are now doing a Star Wars TV series that takes place closer to the original trilogy. That would have been a good time to bring Boba Fett in. And I'm not saying that you cannot have Boba Fett in this show, but don't make him your primary villain. I mean, try and go into some of the drama, try and go into some of the pain that he feels for his father. Sure, you can do that, but don't make him your primary villain, because it's very hard to be afraid of a teenager. It didn't work for me, but overall, season 2 was a big improvement over season 1. Thankfully, when they introduced someone, for the most part, they didn't immediately kill him off. The animation got a lot smoother. It does not feel nearly as stiff as it did before. I mean, the animation, it's like I said, it feels smoother. It feels more fluid. When the characters are talking, you can actually see more of their face moving. When they're actually in motion, when they're running or fighting, it looks more natural. It looks more like the type of movements that a human would do. And yeah, I just thought it was a fairly solid, action-filled season. It does, and thankfully, the later seasons get into heavier dramatic territory.